Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Uncle Daryl? Can you hear me? Uncle Daryl. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm trying to get him in so he can hear me. Can you hear me, Uncle Daryl? Uncle Daryl. 1 second, y'all. I'm trying to get everything set up. I don't know what the problem is. Hello? What is going on? Something is wrong. I hate when this happens. Give me a second, everyone. I'm trying to get him in. I don't know what the problem is. It's like his phone stopped or something. Can you hear me? It says your mic is off. Unmute your mic. Oh, what's going on? Why is the mic? Why is everything? Your mic is off. Can you hear me? Oh man, this is terrible. This is terrible. Can you? I can't hear you talking. Your mic, you can hear me? Oh.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Right,
yes,
good,
I can hear you.
We're in there. We're in there. Good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Where's My Coffee? Once again, I'm Heart Attack. I'd like to thank my special guest, Mr. Daryl Fletcher Sr. Thank you for being on. Today, we're going to talk about some real things that's deep to me, and I know that's deep to him. We're going to talk about family-oriented things, the black man's struggle, a black father taking care of his kids and trying to make it in this world. And today, I chose to pick my uncle today. Today, I'm a little bit nervous because this is one of my favorite uncles right here. He taught me a lot. Been there for me and my cousins and everything. I still remember the butt whippings that I owe him. You know what I mean? I'm just waiting for him to get in the wheelchair. But, you know, he's a bad dude. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Uncle Daryl. Please let the people know where you're from, what age group you're in, not exactly what age group you're in, and I mean, what you do for a living.
I am Daryl Fletcher. I am 51 years old. This is my nephew and my godson. I'm a truck driver.
Truck driver. There we go. There we go. Now, people, the reason why I chose to do this interview is because we had a conversation one day, and it went on for at least about 2 hours. It was a great conversation. I learned some things about my family that I never knew. And one of the most important things I learned was about my grandfather. And I would like to start off with that because the reason why this is important to me, because when I first met my grandfather, wasn't on good terms. He was on his way of passing. And the next following time I seen him, it was his death. And I felt off, a little bit off about even Karen's casting because I didn't know this guy. And because where I grew up and because the ignorance that was around me towards him, it made me ignorant to, you know what I mean, accept him as my grandfather. So, Uncle Daryl, can you tell us a little bit about my grandfather? What you know about him, and who was he as a guy?
Well, I'm gonna say it. My father was Albert Savoy. He was a good person. You know what I mean? I wish he would have been a better father. And
And I think that's everybody thing. Everybody looking for a better father and want a better father in their life. And in our family, what I start to realize, there's a lot of talent, and one of the talents that a lot of your nieces and nephews acquired as they was young was musical. And when we talked, you explained to me that my grandfather actually was in the music management, which I never knew. Can you explain to some of my viewers, like, excuse me, can you explain to some of my viewers, like, some of the artists you may know he worked with, and what city that he did his work in?
Well, I know he traveled throughout Maryland, Virginia, DC, Philly, New York. My father, back in the day, he used to manage groups, and I know he said back in the day he managed Teddy Pendergrass. I mean, he managed a lot of old groups back in the day, and like I said, he loved music. Music was his passion.
Right.
He was an artist. He was an excellent mechanic. And again, like I said, I wish he just would have been a better father.
Right. And maybe that he gave his grandchildren a little more opportunity to get a better understanding of who he was and what he was about. Because, like I said, when my first initiation of meeting him, I think we was living on Stricker Street, and he came up for a while, and the condition he was in, it was not appropriate at the time. I felt as though it was just like, why would he wait so long to come up here and do that? And the next time I met him, I got my first job. Me and my cousin Pierre was working at the Burger King on West North Avenue. And I had came home from work, and I heard that he passed. And Aunt Yvette was like, I want you and Pierre to carry the casket. And I had to be to work the day of his funeral. So I was like, I just got the job, and I was mad. I was so mad. I was like, man, this dude never spoke to me. He never said anything to me. Why do I have to carry his casket? And I never understood why. And as I got older, I was trying to figure out, why did I have such a grudge for this guy that I never met, that I never seriously even got to sit down and even say hi to? I mean, I don't even think we even said hello. So, how was he as you explained, as him being a better father? Is there any of your sisters and brothers that actually got like really close to him, that really got like get to know him and was able to explain to you and the rest of your sisters and brothers like what type of guy he was and what type of situation that caused the family to split apart?
Well, I'm gonna put it to you like this. My oldest sister was very close to him. My oldest brother was very close to him. And I believe pretty much out of the seven of us, they was the only two that was very close to him. Me, I'm the third oldest out of the seven, and I never had a relationship.
I know that must have been tough. I know that must have been tough. Dealing with you all my life, dealing with you, I never see any type of neglect or mannerism. I mean, to be real honest, I never seen any type of neglect or mannerism in the way you carry yourself, like you didn't have a father around. So for you to have such mannerism and stand on your own two so well, and be able to to be as broad as you is, and be able to help build the nephews that you have, man, that's great. That's great. And as you were saying, though, I apologize.
No. I guess the reason why I was the uncle and the father that I was is because I didn't have. So
I see a lot of that bother you. Did you find? All right. What I understand is that from my father, your brother, Uncle Irvin, and yourself, a lot of y'all did a lot of activities as y'all was young. And one time when I first came home, I remember you telling me that you was thinking about taking singing lessons. Have you done that yet?
Man, that was some joking.
I thought, man,
Singing is just not nothing in me.
I thought you were serious because one day he's in the shower, man. I thought you were trying to go off, man.
No, man, singing just ain't me. You know, me, I just like to do a lot of laughing. I'm a funny guy.
I don't know, man, because you'd have brought a different light into this. You'd have brought a different light to the music business if you was to sing, because it seems like a lot of them are just their wrists is a lot of our male singers now wrist snapping, man. We ain't got no men in there. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
to have someone of your stature it'd have been wonderful. But hey, I feel you when you said you were just joking about the singing thing, because I don't know, man. I don't think I want these screeching records in my CD player.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're jokes today.
But I said, with yourself, right? You did a little kickboxing, or you did which one did you do when you was young, and what sports did you take up?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, my passion was baseball. First base, center, and I pitched.
I never knew that.
When I was younger in high school, I taught my Rotary Cup, so that pretty much ended it. And I played football. Football was my passion. And I quarterback, and I was a running back because I was always fast.
Right.
None of my children wanted to play the sport. They didn't. They was more so into education.
Right.
My grandsons, they picked up my talent.
Right. Because my little cousin Daryl, we're gonna get into him, rest his soul. I remember we was young. Actually, everybody thought I was the first one that started rapping in the family, but it was actually him.
Yes.
Because we was living on Stricker Street, and he started liking this rap group called Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Right.
And he used to sit down and listen to their music and try to learn how to rap as fast as them. And I remember one time him trying to write their songs down so he could be able to write as fast as him. So a lot of people don't even know that Little Daryl was the first one that started the rapping thing, but he just never, it was like, I guess that group sparked it, and then once the group was like laying down, he laying down. But a lot of Daryl talent was, I mean, he had a gift for gab, and he was good with his mouth, and he knew how to move around. Daryl knew how to blend in anywhere he went, and that was one of the great things about him, and he'll truly be missed. But I don't want to get into him I don't want to get into him right now, because that'll bring the mood down, with everything with him. Can you tell me a little bit about your mother? And this is my grandmother, Irene. Tell me a little bit about this party animal, because growing up with her, I always my greatest memory of her as a happy person. She's furthermore for the grandchildren, always joyful. She has a big heart. And when she put her foot down, she put her foot down. So we know grandma to be a real rolling badass when she want to be. How was it for y'all growing up?
Well, her raising 7 kids by herself, I guess during her time, she went through a lot. I guess my responsibility, even though I'm the third of the oldest, my responsibility was my responsibility really, I guess I pretty much was the oldest. You know what I mean? Did what I had to do to make sure that my brothers and sisters eat. Pretty much I did what I had to do to make sure that we survived.
Okay. And I know this to be a fact, because I remember when I first came with grandma, and I don't know if my father, anybody remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember the day when y'all came and got me. And it was snow outside. It was you, my father, and Olive. I think his name Oliver, and it was Ernest.
Oh, you talking about
Otto and Ernest. And y'all walked all the way over from y'all walked all the way from over, was it Sandtown, West Baltimore, all the way down to Canton, Southwest Baltimore. Carried my bags from all the way there, all the way back to grandma in the snow.
Yeah.
and I remember that day quite frankly, and I was kind of confused, Uncle Daryl, because I didn't know why it was going on. And to this day, I'm still confused. I know why I moved away from my mother now, because she started getting high. But
Right.
I couldn't understand why I was moving around so much after I left from my mother. You feel me? Now let's get something right. I didn't think we was gonna get this deep into that like conversation right there. I knew I was a problem child. Anybody that knew
Now,
me
I
knew.
would never. I don't think you was a problem
I'm
child.
gonna
You
say it
just had
like
a lot of energy.
I'm gonna say it like this: being my uncle and being my skills and my talents now as an adult. I know you're gonna be like, well, you wasn't really a problem child. You just, as you always say, you got a big heart. You just don't have you lack the discipline to be the man you need to be.
Absolutely.
My thing was that I had sticky fingers. I lied a lot, you know, and I did a lot of off the wall shit. That's, I mean, even up to this day, as an adult now, being a family man and taking care of responsibilities, it lacks. It doesn't need excuse. What it need is understanding from the person that committed it. It need growth from the person that committed it, and it need proof of shown of growth from the person that committed, which is myself. And
Absolutely.
I just couldn't. I knew I was doing something, but I just couldn't understand why I was just like, I was with my grandmother, then I was with my father, then I was with my grandmother, then I was with my father, then I was with Aunt Yvette, then I was with my father. And I just felt as though sometime I was just like, well, if I'm doing something that bad, just put me in a camp and let me play sports. That everybody knew that was my thing. Let me play sports. Just put me somewhere, let me play, keep me out of trouble. And I couldn't understand. It was like, I got all these talent and skills and all these abilities to do great things, but I wasn't getting pushed in that area. It was like, well, if you're not doing right at home, you can't play basketball. If you're not, and then I'm like, how can that be possible when I'm hardly not even going to school now, and I'm not even hooking. I'm staying home doing things that prevent me. And I don't want to get too deep in that, but I felt kind of like messed up about the whole situation, because it left me in a dilemma. Like, well, I mean, am I meant to do anything great? You feel me? Because the only thing I had at the time when I was with y'all, because I told my wife at one time I could sing, and people didn't even know that. At one time I could sing, and I was just like, man, I didn't know what to do. And to this day I'm confused. Like, if I'd have known what I knew back then, and if I'd have been around the people that I was supposed to have been back then, maybe I'd have been that great basketball player. Or maybe I'd have been that singer or that rapper when I first started rapping. Because, I was coming out the door with so much new stuff. Like, everybody, I know a lot of family couldn't even believe, like, this little badass guy, a lot of talent. Look at him. He just coming out the woodwork. But I don't know, man. And I don't blame nobody. I don't blame nobody for what happened or how things happened. Because, one, I wasn't hurt. Whatever I asked for when I got, I deserved it. I mean, even though we was being in the hood, sometimes you're going to hear things that you're not supposed to hear, like cussing words, or you may get a name or two. But growing up in the Black community, we was always taught, we wasn't taught that words could make you want to commit suicide. We was taught that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on, what happened to that one time, because it seemed like a lot of people was getting mentally, they ain't mentally strong no more. It's like anything can make a child or adult go kill themselves, and that's a problem. But when I first came into the scene, Uncle Daryl, what was your perspective of it, man? I know you was happy to have me around, because you stayed around until you was able to go, till you was able. And I think at the time you was messing with God rest her soul, Aunt Trish too.
Right. Well, I'm gonna say this. First of all, I'm not making any excuses. I'm just gonna say that your father taught you the best way that he knew how. He taught you the way that he was taught. And as generations go on, we like to do our best to change that way of thinking. You know what I mean? We try to make our children better than what we were, and so on.
Right.
So I mean, I feel your pain with the sports, because I know when I was younger, I used to wrestle, and I was very good at it. And
right.
when my mother and father separated, we came this way. You know, we came to Baltimore, and I felt like my world was crushed. Your father during that time, your father was the fastest runner in the country. Your father was a track star. He was fabulous. And when my mother and my father separated, of course we went with my mother. So my mother came this way, and his dreams went, my dreams went, and like I said, not having, it's important to have a father around, because if you don't have a father around, you know, it's hard.
Right.
I mean, you need somebody around to guide you in the right directions. And with him, not being around, and my brother, your father and I, we close, which
Right.
has been, and still is to the day. And I believe you. I believe your father did his best, and it may not seem like to you that he did, but he did what he knew how to do.
Right. And you know what? And I concur with you on that. I would say that it was a lot of things that I did not like, but I do agree my father did the best he could with everything he had, because and one of the most important things, because he could have did like a lot of other fathers did and just said, forget it. Even when I got to the age of being grown, being able to run the streets and run my mouth and play tough and get locked up, he could have just said, forget it. But my father always been there. He never, no matter where my mother moved or no matter what my mother did or anybody tried to do, he always found me, and I'm very grateful for that. I just I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to make no excuse like it was all his fault. I believe that if I did a little bit more better in school and didn't get in trouble as much as possible, maybe I'd have had more people fighting for me to go to do basketball or whatever. But at the same time, it's hard for people to fight for you when you're not even taking initiative to do some of the right things you're supposed to do when you're trying to get something. And that was one of my problems. I realized that when I'm initially want something done, I'll do good. And then once it started rolling around, I'll fall off track. And that was some of the things that was happening to me towards life. If you remember, it's like I start off good and I'll be running for a while. Then after a while, I just, and then, and this happened to a lot of young guys' life in our communities. And I just wish that a lot of people, a lot of young guys would take the time out and listen to more of guys like you, listen to more podcasts like this, listen to more people, more guys that's actually talking about being fathers and family oriented and taking the time out to be more responsible of taking care of their responsibilities. And it's crazy that it takes us it takes ass whippings and lockups and somebody to get killed, or a police officer killing one of us for one of the men to step out and say, man, it's time for us to do right. It should have been time. And that's not to derail from that the men that's out there actually taking the time and saying, look, we're gonna do right. It's just that they're not getting the recognition, and it's crazy. But I want to talk about something else that used to get me all the time. We both have a mutual, I'm gonna say, acquaintance, and he's somebody I used to look up to real heavy when I was young. You feel what I'm saying? Because y'all grew up together, and the stories y'all used to tell me, about him, and what we're gonna do is this: we're gonna jump around a mulberry bush with this conversation, because we're not gonna say no name and we're not gonna say directly things that happen. We're gonna do like we did the last time we was on a conversation. We were, did a little mulberry bush stuff. But you had a wild childhood that a lot of people would not believe. Dealing with your demeanor and the certification that you earned, the lifestyle that you live, and I always brag about how you being one of the black guys that's like your hygienes and the way you take your temple is like you like $1 million dude. You feel me? Ever since I can remember, when I was a little child, you always been a type that was like, no dirty nails, keep your shoes clean, wash your, don't wash it. You feel me? You always been a type that like, look, that dirty stuff, females don't like that. And you never, and it wasn't that you always talked about it. I think a lot of us became very fond of it because the way you carried yourself, you introduced us to a lot of freaky stuff. Like I remember when them belts came out with the metal, and and you got us one. You got Lord Daryl one, and I kept asking you for one, and you told me how to get it, and you wound up getting me one. And I was so happy about that, man, because I remember when you got him, because at the time, I think you had just got little Daryl with you. You had bought him that belt. You had bought him like 3 outfits and them new LA Gear light ups. And I wanted a pair so bad, but you got them for him. Man, Uncle Daryl, man, you just keep that man fresh, man. But back to my point at hand. You had a wild life, and one of the stories that's so fun that you probably don't. I told you before, but this phrase, come on out, they got us. This storyline actually comes from something that transpired from your life. And do you know that phrase has been in prison for so long? Like, I swear, man, one day I was on the tier and something happened in my homeboy hood. And somebody told on him or something. He came to the door. He's like, yeah, man, da, 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 da. Come on out. He got us. And my head. And I was like, yo, I heard this story before. Come out, he got us. Come out, he got us. And I remember coming back to you and you told me the story, man. Look, this as short as you can. Can you explain that story without no names? And, just be freaky with it, because it's funny to me, man.
Well, I'm going to say we was young. I was 14. And the person in question was 13. We was young. Found a credit card. Went into the old Hex.
I remember that story.
We went into the Hex, got some clothes and things. What we did was wrong, illegal. We was young. The individual and I left. We left the premise of Hex. We was being chased by police because, of course, what we was doing was wrong, and we knew it. And we running. I climbs up in a tree to hide. The other individual, he ran down the alley. He got caught. He came back to the tree with the officers and said, "Hey, man, come on down. We got caught." So I in turn I came down, and I was like, "Well, you got caught. I didn't go. You got caught. You snitched." But I mean, we was young, 14 and 13.
It's just the story.
And nobody.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nobody. We didn't understand the difference from snitching and things of that sort. I mean, we was young. I'm 51 now, and he's 50.
Right.
We was young. So we didn't understand that. I mean, he probably felt like, since I got caught, I want to take my friend with me. You know what I mean?
And you know what? I be trying to teach kids about that. This stop snitching thing. This is a very thin slope in our community, because what it does is that it takes a criminal. How can I say? It takes the criminal elements and put it in the civilian world. Whereas though to the point now, whereas though our elders can't go on their front and feel safe, and our children can't go on the front and feel safe, and an innocent person can get killed and nothing's being done about it. And I think, honestly, being an ex-felon myself and an ex-gangbanger, I strongly believe that the way that ex-gangbangers and ex-thugs or ex-criminals, or I think the way that we structure our community is totally wrong. I think that the way that we use our phrase of stop snitching or he's a rat, I don't think that we totally sincerely explain to the communities what that means. And that's the reason why a lot of our people can't get, that good feel of knowing that their homes are safe or their childs are okay or the death of their loved ones. And what do you
think? I look at it like this. When you use the phrase stop snitching, I look at it like this. Everybody know that when you're involved in illegal activity, you know what I mean? You can't think that someone won't snitch. I mean, come on. It's given. When you meet people and you're doing certain, activities, you know the individual that is around you from the way they carry themselves, that, if things got tough, that they would snitch. So, you know, I say that to say that I don't believe in people saying, "Oh, he snitched this, he snitched that." You know, I mean, the thing is, when you're dealing with people and you're doing things that you shouldn't do, you know what I mean? And you're hanging around people who doing the things that you're doing, and you already know there's always a weak link. And you know, when you get caught up in situations, you know, you pretty much got to man up and blame yourself. You know, I mean, you knew months, years that the individual that hang around you was not built for whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
And so, and if you keep telling yourself, "Oh, nah, he, and, you know, oh, she okay," you know, and you get caught up, you know, you got to blame yourself. It's no such thing as stop snitching because you already knew that the individual was weak.
And you know why I sit down and I tell a lot of my when I was in Baltimore and I was doing a mentoring program, I told a lot of my youth, I said, do you know why a lot of our uncles that's and our grandfathers and fathers are still alive from back in the days when they used to run the streets? I said, because the difference between them and us, they was willing to take their charge. You feel me? They was willing to stand up. I said back in the day, they did not have stop snitching and stop ratting because it wasn't going on. I'll tell you why? Because every man had it in their mind that if it's mine, I take my charge. If it's yours, you take your charge.
Man up.
And I'm trying to bring that old feel back because that right there brought a lot of, even though a lot of men back in the days are locked up and doing a lot of time, at least they are alive. A lot of them is not on that pedestal of being rats. A lot of our men from back in the day are still considered OGs, fathers, community leaders. With them, a lot of them being locked up, so you can tell that the dilemma and the area of our time has totally changed, and it has changed.
Well, you have to look at it like this. Back when we was young, coming up, you know, and you know, you grow up according to your environment.
Right.
And growing up according to your environment, you know, back then there was a lot of respect for you know, for the older people, children, you know, things of that sort. You know, a lot of things was just hands off. You know, if you sitting on Miss Maddie's step and Miss Maddie say, "Okay, sit on my step," you respect to say, "Okay, Miss Maddie, you moved on," you know, and you didn't go back. You know, these days, you know.
You sit on Miss Maddie's step.
They don't have the respect. If Miss Maddie say move on these days, she might get hurt, and she shouldn't get hurt. She shouldn't have to go through anything because it's her property. You know, if she don't want you on her property, you got to move on. You know what I mean? But the thing is, you know, it got a lot to do with, you know, like I said, your environment and your upbringing. You know, I mean, that's what it's about. When you put yourself in, like I said, in harm's way and crime or whatever, you know, it's always going to be a snitcher. I mean, you know, so if you put yourself in that situation, then, you know, you just got to deal with it, man up, you know. I mean, you got to deal with it. I mean, you wanted to tell on this person and tell on that person and they telling on each other, that's not going to solve nothing. You know, you have a choice. Your choice is to be a part of that or not to be a part of it. If you know that that's something that you shouldn't be involved with, then you don't put yourself involved. You know, and I tell my sons that all the time. You know, I told my oldest son the same thing. You know, he chose to live the life that he chose, which I wasn't happy about it. You know, but you know, as parents, you know, we can only do as do as much as you allow us to do.
You only can teach as much as they're taking. That's all. As a parent, you only can teach and do as much as we allow that we will accept from your lessons and your guidance. And that goes. This go. We're gonna go with 2 more questions. And this question right here. Hopefully that we both can maintain ourselves through it. It's not nothing too deep felt. I don't want to be too vehement between both of us because your son Daryl Fletcher Sr. You know, we was pretty close. You know, as kids, man, it was like, you know, the crazy thing is that our mothers knew each other. They stayed in the clique. It was her, my mother, Aunt Yvette at one time.
Yeah.
So, you know, Al crib is like, we was next to each other from before we was before legs.
Absolutely.
I think Al Bean was created before the legs was even open. God already had planned that this is what he wanted y'all, this route that y'all wanted to go. And your son, rest his soul. You know, a lot of people got their own way they remember him and everything like that. And honestly, I haven't met nobody that has anything bad to say about him other than, you know, him getting himself in trouble and wishing that he'd have changed his life around and didn't take the path. He always been an exciting guy. He the women loved him. You know, he was a handsome man, just like his father, one of them pretty boy motherfuckers. But you know, tell us a little bit about your son and you know, what as a child, what was your hopes for him as a child?
Well, my hopes for him as a child growing up, I try to teach him on the right way. Like I said, I didn't have a father around, so my intentions was to make him a better man than what I was, and very hard on him with education and the way he lived his life, and I mean, he made some mistakes, and like I used to always tell him, mistakes that you make, one day you may have to live. You have to live to deal with it, or one day you may not live, to be able to deal with it.
Right.
And he was a gangbanger. He did things that he probably should have not have done. And it cost him his life. I remember telling him growing up, never be a follower, always be a leader. My father. One thing, my father wasn't in my life. But one thing he taught us when he was in my life was that you never be a follower. You always be a leader. You don't do things because people, ask you to do it. I mean, make up your own mind. Do things that are going to benefit you.
Right.
Not someone else or whatever. So the thing was, I remember when he was like 9 months old, and because I had him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you seen me, you seen him.
Mm-hmm.
I had him more than his mother had him.
Right.
I remember when he was 9 months old, and I'm laying on the bed and I'm asleep. I done been out in the street all night, and I come home, I got him, and we laying down in my room, and I'm sleeping, he kissing all on me, I look up at him and I'm smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know, man. I know this is a hard conversation.
it's been 7 years, but sometimes it get better to 7 though. But I try to stay strong, and because I have other kids, I have to stay strong. The thing is that he have 2 beautiful sons, that I spend a lot of time with, and I try to teach them the same ways that I try to teach him. And like I explained to his 2 sons, I'm always be around. Do
Right.
good things with your life.
I just got a comment on here from a young lady. She said, you can't see the comments, but I can. And hopefully when it do post, you'll be able to see some of the nice comments. What a young lady said, she said she know that you're hurting and no one blames you for your pain or your tears.
Thank you.
And she said that she respect that you open up the way you are. And she said, don't feel any type of way about shedding a tear, anything like that, because no one blames you and they feel your pain. So I feel the same way. And I know you're, man, the people that know you knows you're a hell of a strong man. And your son was damn strong, and he was a good person.
He was.
I mean, he had a heart, man. He really, I mean, with the power that he did have, he could have done so much worse, but he chose to be a good guy, He could have, when all this was turned on from the store, he could have retaliated tenfold. He had the time, he had the ability, and he had the power to do it. But
I think with him,
I think he just had he just felt as though, I think he was just tired with it. I think he was just tired with
Right.
Yeah, I think he was
I
just
think I
tired.
think that was his only way out, was that he was tired. And then I think he thought about his children. You know what I mean? You know, you have to understand that
I know.
when you get in that kind of life, you gotta understand the children that you leave behind. You know, and the thing is that, you know, sometimes you think that you're making the right decisions, and sometimes you do, and sometimes you make the bad decisions. But
Mm,
I think what it was with him is that he was tired. He knew that the thing that he was doing was not right. And I used to
right.
tell him all the time, only God knows. And when he's tired of the things that you're doing, then you will get the same treatment that you give out.
Right.
And so I look at my grandkids, especially my oldest grandson. Oh my God, remarkable young man,
Mm-hmm.
18. You know what I mean? Been playing football since he was a kid. I don't want to name the school that he's getting ready to play for, but he have an opportunity to
Some amazing thing.
make things right. The cycle.
Mm,
I mean, I grew up in the streets. His father grew up in the streets. Um, you know, I I made a lot of you know good decisions at the end, and that's why I'm where I'm at today. And you know, um, he made decisions that put him where he is. And like I tell my grandsons, I tell both of them. I say, look, you guys can change the cycle. You
mm,
know, I stay on them. I spend a lot of time with them. And I tell them, being in the streets is not where you want to be at. Get a good education. You know what I mean? Even though you like sports, you in this sports, you still have to get
but
you still have to have a backup plan. So that's why education is important. Me, I dropped out of school, got a GED. Went to trade school. You know, and like I said, it's important. If you're a father, it's important to be around. Because if you're not around, things happen. And even when you are around, things happen. But at the end of the day, if you do your best, you know, that's all
it's,
you can do.
you can
You
deal,
know,
like you said, you can when you're not around and you miss that opportunity, you never know what you're missing out on.
absolutely,
You never know what you're missing out on. And
absolutely.
I that's like a tough that really is a tough conversation. That conversation is like the type of conversation I would have to sit down and write questionnaires, because though his life was cut short, he had done a lot. He has been places. He has seen things.
Mm.
He has loved. He has been loved. Daryl Jr. has been. You know, it's really sad that his sons and his father and his future nieces and nephews and whatever say forth will never know what type of uncle they had, because his personality was he was dominant. He was an alpha male, and he was a type
But
of alpha.
even though they'll never get a chance to know the type of person he was, I mean, I keep him alive. We keep him
That's
alive.
what's up.
And you know, when you're looking at pictures and you grow up and you see a person, you say, "Who's this person?" And and you share the information, then the information will continue to move forward. If you don't share the information, then
Mhm.
they're forgotten.
And I see that, and then that is right. Now for my last question. Now that before I get to the last question, it's going to be in and out. But on my way to the last question, right now you have another son that's dealing with some dilemma. That is not as serious as
Mm-hmm.
as your last son, and it's not about asking about him or asking anything about his charge. Knowing that you have a son that could be going down the same road, and that you have already said this to him, what fatherly black man advice can you give to any youth or young guys that's following down that road right now? And
Well,
what? Mhm.
when you have a child that is falling down the same road that his bigger brother, went through, um, the only thing that you can do is be there, give them love, And sometimes you have to show tough love even when you don't want to, but you have to stay firm, you have to let them know that, hey, you can't do this because this is what's going to happen. This is going to be the end results. But, I mean, like I said, as a Black father these days, um, you know, you just got to do your best. I mean, the thing is, you can't blame yourself for the way they turns out because they have choices just like you had. And
Exactly.
the problem is if you're not around and you're not giving up any advice. I mean, when you're not giving up any, I mean, for instance, if you pass your son by in the streets and you both can't stand there and have a conversation, it's crazy. Whatever happened in the past, you have to leave it in the past. Things happen for a reason, and you have to move on. You can't keep that anger bottled up inside of you because it ain't gonna do nothing but destroy you. If you and your father can't get along, sometimes you have to be the bigger person, even if you're the child. Sometimes you have to reach out. I mean, it would be great if the father reached out, but sometimes they don't. But if you can reach out, even if you have to send a letter, email, or whatever. I mean, do your best, and if it don't work out, don't hold it against yourself. Just keep reminding yourself you tried.
Right.
You know.
Well, everybody, once again, this is, I mean, one of the this was a very emotional episode. Uncle Daryl, I'd like to thank you for coming in and joining me this morning. Hopefully,
thank you.
In the future we can do something else where as though it won't be too emotional. Because I was thinking about in a few months of doing something with you, my father, and Uncle Irvin, and calling it family affair. And everybody, once again, this is my uncle Daryl Fletcher Sr. He checked in with us. I hope y'all like this interview, and check me out next Saturday. I will post up my a new link on what topic I will have, where I might post it my website, and I hope you guys will check it out. Until next time, this is Where's My Coffee? I'd like to thank y'all for checking in. Keep it beating or flatline. I'm out of here. All right, let me end the podcast.